What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. I have a sincere question. What gets you up in the morning? I really want to know. And I know the first thing that probably comes to mind for most people, even me during the bulk of my life, the answer would be, I get up because I have to. What kind of question is that? I don't have a choice. I have to work. I have to pay the bills. I got to pay for my car, my house, take care of my family. You know, all the things that normal people do. Usually the question is, what keeps you up at night? So I get up because I have to. What kind of question is that? That's what I presume is the answer by most people. And one of my friends gave me a funny answer because I've literally, sincerely been asking this from the people that I know. He said, I get up because I have to pee. So real, man. It's probably why I get up, even though I'm mad when I get up because I have to pee, because then I feel like I've had to do that for the last hour and it robbed me for an hour of sleep. Anyway, but yeah, I can accept that answer and probably don't need to further question at all. That is the answer, but it wasn't as glaringly obvious as it is now. So let's circle back to this like I did to finally get back here to understand that the answer is that we get up because we have to. And why I even have the luxury to not have to start and end at this answer and just accept it as it is where the problem begins for me. And maybe people who are listening to this can relate. If you're trying to work for yourself instead of going to get a job, maybe you can relate to maybe having some semblance of this luxury because you have to define what it is that you have to wake up for. And that's up to you. I heard this on the Dan Miller podcast with the story of a guy who had anything but a normal path. And he says every day, because he works in a commission job, every day, he's a real estate agent, it's not a job. Every day he wakes up and he says, I wake up and I'm unemployed. And if I don't do the activities and don't do the work and use the principles that I know work, but take time, then I give myself no chance. Everything I do, he says, is for the 5-year from now me. Everything is an investment. I don't expect it to bear fruit tomorrow. I just have to have the faith that if I do the activities that I know work and stay consistent, that they will pay off. And that's what it's like working for yourself, being in business for yourself. It's literally trying to figure out what is the right thing to do and what's the best thing to do next and what contributes most in the most effective way. And many times, because that isn't clear, and other times we fool ourselves to believe that what we're doing is productive and contributing and actually are doing less productive and less income producing activities. Many times these things are just not clear, and that's why a lot of us cling to jobs just so we can say, this is what I have to wake up for, because it's difficult to define that for yourself. And because for me, I'm facing this difficulty, and because many things have been unclear, and because I've been derailed so many times in starting, and because I haven't been in enough pain, sincerely, and because I have a billion becauses, ultimately I have yet to fully commit to doing all those things and in fully making them clear on the way and making them clear enough to define what it is to wake up to tomorrow and doing the things that the 5-year me requires daily. I'm still leaving unclear because of that lack of commitment. And because of this soft commitment, I have fooled myself out of the daily activities that ground a person. Because I have foolishly made myself believe that I have this luxury, which I don't, that causes me to not accept the answer at face value that we get up because we have to. Because clearly I have not given myself things that I have to get up for. And because I think that I have this foolish luxury and a valid because, even though I don't, I give myself this out from defining that and then take away my answer or even my ability to accept the answer that we wake up because we have to. And this foolish luxury, which I don't have, is in a way irresponsible. But again, I'm jumping ahead and saying all of this post understanding this. To get to this understanding, let's rewind on what I missed and how I even got here to hold myself accountable in this way and in this specific thing. I found myself asking myself this question the other day and this is where it all started. This question that I tragically couldn't find an answer for. Frankly, I'm still searching for it. Even though I've kind of gotten past the understanding. The fact that I didn't have an answer for this, and I'm kind of worried about what it says about me that an answer does not automatically just jump out and hit me in the face when I ask myself this question. And the question was just a slight variation of the one I asked you. What gets you up in the morning? And I asked myself because I have been avoiding waking up many days over the past month and avoiding life and the effect of no sun and my circadian rhythm because of that doesn't help. It's just compounding the fact that I get no sun. And the rest I get sleeping during daylight doesn't help. So I haven't been getting up. I've been sleeping opposite hours. But anyway, I asked myself in a way to figure out what it would take for me to actually flip the schedule around and motivate myself to get up. I asked myself in an effort to comb out an answer that would actually be the cause enough for me to wake up, despite how tired I was, so I can flip the schedule. I asked myself, if you could wake up to anything, what would you want to do? In the slight variation to the question I asked you. What do you wake up for in the morning? What gets you up in the morning? Maybe ask yourself the same question with a slight variation. If you could wake up to anything, what would you want to do? And I couldn't come up with an answer. If money was no object and you didn't have to wake up because the reason was the obligation that you have for the rest of the day, just thinking about the very first hour of the day, and that answer couldn't be dependent on geography, so you can't say I'd wake up if I was on vacation. If money was no object, if you could wake up and do the thing that excited you the most, right in the place that you were in your home or hotel, what would you do? What is that thing that excites you the most out of anything else that you would do bar none over all other things? And tragically, I cannot come up with an answer. And the only things that come close were waking up and playing the guitar, or literally just waking up and spending time by myself doing nothing, just being in my own thoughts in some meditative type of way. Those were the only things that came to mind. And that still doesn't hit the mark of the true thing that I would jump out of bed with excitement to go do. Maybe the guitar thing, but I don't have one here right now. So sadly, I couldn't come up with a clear answer for myself. And the sad part, but maybe a clue in that, started this digging process. Me asking myself, so you're saying if you had $1 million in the bank, you couldn't find something to be excited to wake up to? Are you that deprived of inner peace? Because money then for sure won't fix it. Especially since we made the first hour not dependent on any geography or luxury. So that sucks, that realization. Because it means that if I can't be happy now and see a reason to wake up now, then the likelihood of having that on the other side of all this success I'm chasing is highly unlikely. So that's sad that I can't even come up with a hypothetical answer. So can you answer that question with more clarity than I can? I'm sincerely curious. What is that thing that gets you up in the morning? What do you look forward to waking up to in the first hour of your day? Is it even like that, or am I still thinking luxuriously? And as I continue to ponder this over the course of a few days, moving past that initial harsh realization that I don't have a clear answer for myself, and looking deeper and even questioning altogether as to why I'm even framing the question this way, completely open to the understanding that the entire premise of the question is wrong. Thoughts that clarity tries to offer me are ones that remind me that life doesn't necessarily work that way. And I know you're listening to me like, yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you the whole time. That's where we started. But we're rewinding, right? We're telling you how I finally got to that understanding. And clarity tried to offer me the fact that answering and asking the question, what gets you up in the morning, life doesn't work that way. And the fact that I'm making waking up in the morning an existential crisis tells me I'm disconnected from the purpose wavelength that I need to be on. Because if I truly had a purpose, and that soft commitment I mentioned before was firm, then I would not need to ask the maybe redundant, maybe privileged question of having to even need a reason of joy to wake up in the morning. And maybe because I'm in this entire process of rescripting my life, some actively, some through the force of nature, that I'm trying to purposefully infuse joy into every aspect of it, which has caused me to look for it in the reason for waking up even. Which now, thinking about my soft commitment, makes me think about and advances me into thinking about the fact that maybe I'm positioning my purpose in conflict with joy, so my commitment is not as firm as it needs to be, which would make asking the question of what gets me up redundant and unnecessary. Maybe the inquiry into the possible blockage in accepting my purpose can be a topic of a different podcast. Point is, clarity at least points past the initial question into looking at this detachment from purpose. Then I kept thinking, okay, because I've always known myself to be purpose-bound and purpose-driven, but not so much, especially during this period where I'm not waking up, and then maybe seeking an answer to the question of why even waking up in the first place is important. What's the point? And because the detachment from my purpose during this time compounds on a daily basis, and the feeling of carrying that purpose out gets further and further on a daily basis, and moves the usual positive momentum I know of myself to have towards goals, now moves backwards into negative momentum, which disconnects me even more from my purpose, which then makes the foolish positioning of the question even more valid in my mind when I ask, what's the point of waking up? Well, nothing, bro. No point if you're not going to wake up and fulfill your purpose and do something. You might as well not wake up. And the more disconnected, the more days, the more disconnected I get from it, the louder and louder the need for having a purpose becomes. And the lack of it torments me in disrupting every other aspect of my life. As even something as basic as, what's the point of waking up? Or literally over the past month, it's also been, what's the point of eating? Which quickly turns into, what's the point of living? And spirals quickly down a deep, dark hole where you find yourself with compound speed into existential hell, where nothing seems worth bearing the weight of, all because of mismanaged momentum. And that got me to realize some inkling of where we began this episode. This mismanaged momentum was shaping what I thought of as my life. Because short-term memory will tell you what the last 3 weeks are and how they reflect the rest of your life. And the longer I spend detached from my purpose, the more days that get spent with a poor schedule in which I oversleep or sleep without predictable routine and then throw off the predictability of all other life goals and tasks that I need to be able to count on myself for, the longer I spend there, the more I forget who I am and what I'm about and to what end it's all for. And that's why I need to ask all those questions then. I feel stuck in this bad pattern, play out the bad routine on a daily basis like a tape recorder, and do it all over again until the next day. Until hopefully something breaks me out of this bad pattern, usually me forcefully. But the longer I stay here, the more I feel the need to make waking up an existential crisis and look for some deeper meaning than just having a life to resume. And the longer I stay in this poor cycle, the worse I feel about the life I'm living, the less likely I am to want to wake up and resume it. So really, the cause of all the turmoil is the abysmal life I've designed for myself to wake up to, especially over the past month. And the way to solve for that isn't to have some peaceful, favorite, highly engaging activity in the first hour. It's literally to have and create a life that is worth resuming the next day. One that you hate pausing at the end of the night because it's so exciting to live. And the longer I stay in this bad pattern, the longer I keep from giving myself this gift to create a life that is unquestionably exciting to get out of bed for. That is the best gift that we can give ourselves. So instead of having to answer that I get out of bed because I have to go to work or pay the bills and take care of the family, you answer it with that I get to, that I'm delighted to have the opportunity and the blessing to have the capability to provide for the people I love and for myself. And doing so is part of my purpose, and carrying it out enhances my energy that I'm able to put into everything else. And that life that I create in doing so on a daily basis is the existential remedy, the armor against all angst, the shield to nihilism, the pathway to a sane life. So like I said, that luxury to not accept that answer off the bat, that we wake up because we have responsibilities, that foolish luxury that none of us have. And if you think you do, you are around the corner from a hell like you have never seen before. You don't want the freedom to ask yourself, what's a good reason to wake up tomorrow? You don't want that as a big question mark on a daily basis. If you are finding yourself asking this, it's because you either haven't defined a purpose or have gone astray from it. And as humans, we don't have any other productive paradigms from which to operate other than our roles and the goals we want to accomplish within them. There are no other ways for us to operate. Without those, we are adrift and decay at a rapid speed. That is existential hell on earth. Wake up because your life is worth waking up to. And if it isn't, make it so. You owe that to yourself. Love you, family. See you in the next show.